Joined by Bethany Mandel. If God is in his throne, then Bethany will be the new Board of Education member in Montgomery County, Maryland, a week from tomorrow night. Bethany4BOE.com. Bethany, the number 4BOE.com. Bethany, good morning to you. I believe I am right on Election Day, a week from tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, wow. When you say it like that, it sounds scary.
How do you feel about it? You feel good?
I do. So we reached like 100,000 voters over the course of the last few days. Early voting has already started, and so we did text messages and robocalls, thanks to donations that a lot of your listeners have sent in. And so that is outreach and get out the vote, unlike we've seen in Montgomery County. Most people just spend monies on a couple T-shirts and lawn signs and call it a day. But this is actually like really significant get out the vote effort.
Well, congratulations, Bethany. I just love that you have brought this. Montgomery County is nuts. If people don't know that across the country, it's the suburb north of Washington in Maryland. I live in Virginia, so I don't have to deal with these people. But Bethany lives there, and she's entering the fray. She has 6 kids. She knows what's going on in the public schools of Montgomery County. And I think you're nuts for agreeing to serve like my friend Hank Adler did long ago and far away in Orange County, but I'm glad you are. Bethany, today, I believe, is Holocaust Memorial Day. I believe it began last night
Yeah,
and continues today. Am I correct?
that's right. Everything on the Jewish calendar starts and ends at sunset. So it began last night at sunset.
So, what do you do with your children who are young uh, and have gone through a year of trauma? For anyone who's a Jewish American and seen anti Semitism explode, and of course, the older ones will know what 10/7 is. What do you do?
On today, it's funny. I was thinking about this morning. What would we do? My kids have unfortunately gone through an exceptional amount of trauma because Seth and I work in this industry. I've been working with hostage families. My kids know some of the hostage families personally, and so you kind of have to weigh like how much trauma do you put on a kid. And I think this year Yom HaShoah is just we're not going to really market that much this year, just for the sake of, you know, they've had enough trauma in the last 6 months. And I think that we can talk about the Holocaust um, another day, but we really need to, I think, recover a lot from the last six
I've
months.
been wondering about this because I listen to Seth every day. Commentary Pod is my favorite pod. I prefer it more to
It
my
is.
pod, and I love the interaction and I love the conversation. But I also wonder about the home life of the participants because it's been such an awful year, and it's going to be an awful month because Rafa is beginning today. So can
Yeah.
Seth
Yeah.
leave it at the office? Can you leave it at the office?
No, because it's all the time. And so, my daughter came with me, I guess it was last week, to the Hill with the brother of a hostage. And now she's been asking me every morning, is his sister going to get out? Is Carmel going to be part of a deal? And she's really personally invested because she made friends with this really nice guy whose sister is being held hostage. And so it's very hard for our kids to really have a healthy, normal childhood in the midst of all this. And we're just, trying to do the best that we can, understanding that we're kind of falling short of the way that we like to parent, of shielding them from hard things as much as humanly possible.
I don't know if you're 5 or 10 years away from a college choice, Bethany, but will these colleges ever erase their disgrace in your mind? I mean, would you ever let a child go to Columbia? I would not if I was Jewish.
No, no. So it's funny. We have a niece who's actually making her college list right now. And we were talking over Passover about how her list has changed. Columbia has been on her list her entire life. Her mom and her most favorite aunt, not me, the other one, they both went to Barnard. And so she always envisioned going to Barnard. And then she was making a list of alternatives, and some of the alternatives got crossed off while we were there with her. Rutgers, where Seth and I both went, got crossed off the list because they have ceded to the demands of the protesters and threatened Jewish students that if they held a barbecue on campus, they would face disciplinary action. And so, that's the situation at Rutgers, and it's playing out across the country. And so she's just watching her entire college list dwindle into, Brandeis, basically.
And I hope she looks at Hillsdale if she's really smart. Hillsdale is the most Jewish welcoming college in America, and it's a serious college. Unfortunately, they only take 400 to 500 students a year. They're now well below 10% acceptance rate.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no Jewish community there, but I've been talking to them about perhaps changing that. So hopefully that changes at some point.
Don't you think Chabad would go up there if there were
no
more Jews? Don't you think Chabad would find a way to?
I talked to them about it. They think it's too small of a school, and it's the chicken or the egg. They go when there are Jews, and there are currently no Jews.
There are a few Jews. I want to make sure, not enough, not critical mass. Bethany, I posted something. I got a few tens of thousands of views of, I wonder if the American Jewish community is going to do the March for Israel again on or about October 7th. An unusual lack of comments. Do you think that maybe there's some trepidation there on the part of American Jews, given the volcano of anti-Semitism that occurred between November 14th and today?
I don't. I think what it is not having a centralized Jewish organization. The last march was very difficult to put together and was very ad hoc and very last minute. And so I think that that took a lot out of the organized Jewish community, and no one has stepped up to say, I will plan the next one. I think it would be wonderful. I think it would be incredibly important. I'm not sure where it falls on the calendar Jewishly, but October is generally pretty hard with the Jewish holidays. So I want to attribute like sort of bad motives and trepidation as opposed to just inertia and perhaps calendar.
Would you give me a sense? I know the AJC. I know the American Jewish Committee because they publish commentary, and I've been reading commentary since I was 18. And now I listen to the Commentary Pod, which is the best podcast in America. And Bethany's husband is in it, so she can't contradict me. And he's what is his official job title at Commentary, Bethany?
Senior editor.
All right.
But he doesn't actually edit things, so it's a lie.
Yeah. Would you tell Seth, by the way, that It's Worse Than That was trademarked by me, because I think I was the first person to say it ought to be called It's Worse Than That, because of Abe Greenwald, who always says it's worse than that, John. And I put that on a tweet, and they brought it up, but someone else emailed it. We all, obviously, many great minds think alike. And it's funny, because Abe always says it's worse than that. What is, maybe someday they could explain to the Gentiles who are listening, what is the structure of the unofficial American Jewish community? I know there's the AJC. I know there's the Jewish Federation. Who runs this show?
And I don't know, honestly. There's a lot of Jewish professionals at 300 million Jewish organizations. If you look at the poster for the March Against Anti-Semitism that happened in November, it had like 300 million sort of co-sponsors. And speaking from a media perspective, getting any answers was very difficult because there were so many players involved. It's very hard to wrangle Jews. We always joke that, 3 Jews, four synagogues. Like it's very hard. It's very hard to round everybody up.
My favorite Jewish joke is about the Jewish man who was on a desert island and he built 3 houses. And when he was rescued, he said, why 3 houses? There's my home, there's my synagogue, and there's the synagogue I'd never step into. And so I find that very funny because it's a little bit like Irish Catholics, but not quite. My Star of David flag behind me, I got it that March. It was thrown together in like 2 weeks. It was mostly the District of Columbia and its environment. 300,000 people. With a few months, I think they would have millions of people come. I don't know where the High Holy Days are. That I hadn't thought about. But they would need a committee, wouldn't they? They would need like the AJC, the Federation, and then there, like you said, there are scores and scores of serious Jewish organizations, Holocaust museums all over the place, Simon Wiesenthal Center in L.A. I mean, it would take a lot of doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the problem is also that a lot of ultra-Orthodox people came from New Jersey, from Lakewood, from Muncie, and there was not really an acknowledgement of anything religious there. And so I'm not sure if they would come back and do it again, given that it had a very secular feel, which is very often the case when things are run by the organized Jewish community. And so I that might have been like sort of a miracle.
There was a mitzvah tank there. The mitzvah tank showed up.
I know, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's a Chabad thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's two. I'm looking at the calendar. It's right between Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. There's no way.
Well, wait. Yom Kippur, if it's right in the middle, you could get on a bus the day before and come, and you could fly, and then you could be back in time, couldn't you? If it's right in the middle?
Yeah, but it's very, very difficult. It's a tough time. People are like, make it. There's a lot of holidays right in there, which is why they perpetrated October 7th on October 7th, because it was on a holiday. And so there's a lot going on those weeks with cooking and preparing and building a sukkah, which is, what happened on October 7th. There are still sukkahs standing in those border communities
Are there
that have
really?
been abandoned. Yeah, yeah. They're still standing.
Bethany, okay, here's my suggestion. Set it for October 14th. What I want people to do, my objective here, is for the American electorate to have a picture of millions of supporters of Israel and vote that way. I think it would be powerful because this election, we cut off ammunition to Israel over the weekend. Did you see that?
Yep. It's been pretty dark. I mean, it looks like as of now, Israel is going into Rafah and there will not be a hostage deal. And in retaliation on Yom HaShoah, the Holocaust Remembrance Day, it looks like Israel is going to lose a lot of American support when it needs it most to prevent another Holocaust.
They're not going to lose American support. What they're going to have is the people who have never supported them become more vocal. The United States Congress's vote reflects the American support for the state of Israel. I refuse to be represented by Tony Blinken on this. He's just wrong. Wendy Sherman was wrong when she was there. Lloyd Austin is wrong and enfeebled. Joe Biden is simply infirm. I don't know who's running this show. I'm afraid it's Prague kids in the White House. Last word to you, Bethany. Who do you think is actually developing U.S. policy towards Israel? Because they're not serious people.
No, I don't. I mean, what's frightening about what's happening on these Ivy League campuses, not just with the students, but also with the professors who are locking arms to protect these students and these agitators, these professional agitators, is that these are the folks who are in charge of foreign policy for Democrats at the State Department. The protesters who today are at Columbia in 15 years are going to be in the State Department, if not sooner. But all of those professors have been there for decades, and they've educated entire generations, mostly progressives, who are now sitting in the deep state here in Washington. And it was something that even Trump couldn't really fight because they had been so entrenched and they were here for so long and they occupied so many positions at the State Department. It's really terrifying. It's a fifth column in our
It's
United
the
States
useful
government.
idiots that Stalin spoke of. They're all over. But fortunately, people fight back, including in Montgomery County, where Bethany Mandel's name is on the ballot. And if you are listening to this and you know someone in Montgomery County, send them this podcast and say, go to Bethany, the number 4BOE.com, help her out, call people in Montgomery County, get her elected. It'll be a small victory for sanity. Bethany Mandel, thank you. Follow her on Twitter, of course, at Bethany Shondark. Bethany Shondark is her maiden name, but Bethany Shondark, you can find her on X. And then go to Bethany, the number 4BOE.com, and help her campaign. Thank you, Bethany.